Convicted drunk driver Fred Russell will be sentenced next month.
A jury found him guilty yesterday of vehicular homicide and assault for the 2001 wreck that killed 3 Washington State University students.
KXLY4's Erik Loney has tracked down one of the jurors and spoke to him, and this guy says it was a very difficult decision for him.
He did. We talked to the presiding juror in this case. His name's Nick Stumbo, and he said that this is not a black and white case, and there are a lot of gray areas that the jury had to wade through. But he said in the end, all the jurors agreed that Russell was guilty, but they said it wasn't easy deciding to send him to prison.
Guilty.
Fred Russell winced at the verdict. His mother didn't move, and his attorney had tears in her eyes, and then a juror you can't see wept in open court. A camera captured Russell telling the crying juror, "It's okay." The decision to send Russell to prison was not an easy one, according to presiding juror Nick Stumbo.
Yeah, I know several jurors just said we wanted to find a reason to have reasonable doubt, but when we looked at the facts and we looked at the law, we just didn't have one.
Stumbo said prosecutors proved Russell was drunk and caused the crash that killed Brandon Clements, Ryan Sorensen, and Stacy Morrow. During the trial, Russell's attorneys blamed another driver for the crash, suggesting R.J. Hart's car had pulled onto the highway, forcing Russell to swerve into oncoming traffic. Stumbo said the jury did not see enough evidence to prove Russell's claim.
After the accident, he talked to 6 or 7 people, all of whom testified during the trial, and not to any of them did he say, this person pulled right in front of me and I swerved to avoid them. To every single witness after the accident, he said, I looked up, saw a car coming at me in my lane, and I swerved to avoid it. So Russell never once mentions trying to avoid a car that was going in the same direction as him. And yet that's what the defense is trying to tell us happened, and we said we just don't have enough evidence to say that would likely happen or to create reasonable doubt for us.
After the verdict yesterday, one of Russell's attorneys regretted not putting Russell on the stand to tell his version of the story. Stumbo said Hart's testimony was convoluted, and Russell's first-hand explanation may or may not have set him free.
If Russell had a great memory of what happened and was willing to state it, I think he could have helped his case, but on the other hand, I could see how he could have also hurt his own case. So it didn't surprise me he didn't testify.
Now, Stumbo also said jurors had a hard time convicting him because just the fact that their decision will send someone to prison. They also said that the fact that Russell fled to Ireland really didn't weigh into their decision because they basically understood that he was under a lot of pressure. He felt like everyone was out to get him, and so they said the fact he ran didn't prove to them that he was guilty or not guilty.
Wow, that's surprising to me.
And he also talked about how the fact that Russell's attorneys kept using the word as FDR. They didn't say his name. Whenever they talked about Russell, they called him FDR. Some of the jurors found that annoying to be referencing a former president. They just thought that wasn't right. So it's hard to say if that played into their decision whether they liked the attorney or not. So.
All right, Eric, thanks so much.
Been a long 6.5 years, huh?
Yeah.